What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to actually draw the correct support and resistance levels and how you could use those levels to trade off them. All right. So before we get to the charts, I want to cover a couple of points that are very important to keep in mind. So first point is that the support and resistance is just basically an area where price reacts from time to time again, right? It's just an area, it could be a price level or a price range where you would see that price just all the time, many times, just keeps reacting from the same level, right? But that goes together with my point number two, which is it's usually a general area. It's not just a line, right? Because I see many people drawing just one single line on a support and resistance level. And, there's times that price just won't go back to that exact line. Let's say you have this line here, maybe, on a certain time that price comes back to the level, it doesn't really touch the line, and then you miss out on that trade, right? So usually this is an area, a general area, a zone basically where price reacts off, right? Nothing is really to the tick or to the point. It's usually just an area that you can trade off, right? So you have to keep that in mind that it's just not a line, it's a general area. So there are two different ways that I use the support and resistance level to trade. You can either trade a rejection, which is just if you have a resistance, you can look to trade the rejection and sell from here. Or if you have a support level, right? You have a support level and you just focus on the rejection of this general range and you just try to buy every time it comes to support. But there's also an option of trading the breakout of these levels. And yes, I know there are people online that talk about fake outs and all that stuff. And I actually covered that in another video on the channel. So you need to take a look at that. One of my previous videos is talking about support and resistance, where I talk about fake outs as well, and how to use that to your advantage. But this video is just mainly focused on trading the support and resistance levels. So when you have a support level, let's right here. Let's say you have this support level, right? And this is the general area that we're looking at to trade. There's going to be times where there's going to be a breakout, right? Where buyers are just not strong enough to defend this price range anymore. So when price comes down and breaks this level, for me, a proper break is around 6-point break on the S&P 500, right? So if we can find a 5 or 6 point break, then for me, this is a confirmed break of the level, and then I would look for potential entries in this drop. And sometimes it will come back as well to the range. For me, it doesn't really have to come back to the support turn resistance level to do this, right? So there's many times that it would happen that it would retrace a little bit and then further drop, right? So I try to find entry opportunities in this break once the break is confirmed after 6 points. And this obviously goes exactly the same for when a resistance is broken. So usually the time frames that I look for support and resistance levels are the M30 and the M15. Why? Because I'm a scalper. I only scalp the S&P 500 every single day. My trades are very short term. I look for quick moves, 10, 15 points, nothing more. Because my stop losses obviously are quite small. They're usually 2 or 3 points. So this is what I mainly look for. If you want to look at the higher time from support and resistance and get a more clear idea of where the market might be heading over the next couple hours or days, then by all means do that. But this is just what I use personally to choose my levels to trade off for the S&P 500 every single day. So let's get to the charts and look at some support and resistance levels. So actually, the market is about to open in about an hour, and for me, there is this support level already right here. You can see there's multiple touches on the same area where price just keeps bouncing off. So this for me would be a support level. Now, this is not to say that price could not just go lower and manipulate these lows and then go higher again, right? It could just do this, which happens a lot of times as well with support and resistance, where it just would manipulate these lows and then would fly from there. But that's just a risk that you got to take. Once you see your entry confirmation, just go for it and see what happens. All right. And if you don't see your entry confirmation, well, then maybe you just wait for a manip of these lows. All right. You can see these are exact same lows, equal lows as well, these two. So this for me would be a valid support to be looking to trade off. Now let's take a look and see if we can find something else. Here we can see a clear resistance, right? We see this one high, two high, three highs. So this, for example, be an example where you could trade the rejection of this level. And as you can see, it's not really one line, it's a general area because it touched here again. Yeah. So if you would just have a line, right? If we would just have a line, and I don't know how you even would draw that. This time it didn't even touch the line. Yeah. But if you obviously have a general area, you know, you're not too precise, you're just not focusing on one price level, you're looking on a general range, but then maybe you find a short over here, right? So it's important to always look at ranges instead of just, you know, one price level. And let's see if we can actually find a breakout as well. Let's see if we can find something. Well, actually, even today's support level is a pretty good example. So I have a M30 or what is it? M45, I think M45. Yeah, it's an M45 demand that I have right here, ready for my pre-market game plan. This is my M45 demand. You can see it's a small demand. It's not the strongest, but there was a nice M1 consolidation on the inside. Again, if you want to know more how I draw supply and demand zones and how I look for the strongest levels, there's already a video on that on my channel. And here you can see we already had a nice reaction from this demand level. So I'm still looking at that level as it's still valid for me. So if, for example, this support level wouldn't hold, I would need to see a 5 to 6 point break in order to you know, change my buys from buys to sells. But here, for example, you see this support level is more or less over here. So the bottom is around 35s. So basically a break of this would be already in this demand. So I wouldn't even be looking at sells anymore because we're going to be entering the demand, right? So there really needs to be, for a breakout, no real price action trying to stop the move. Okay, so let's see if we can find a proper breakout example. Let's see if this is one. Here we have some support. This finishes at the 18s, and the break is from the 12 here. This will be a 6 point break at the 12, and you still have some room until the next demand over here to be trading of. Yeah, you can find a nice sell from around the 12s, from the 13, 12s. You can find a nice, well, almost 10 point move, right? That with a 2 point stop loss is 5R. So that could have been, if there was a retrace, obviously on the M1, for example, then you could have had a nice trade there targeting just the demand. So for breakouts, you really need to have nothing else stopping price or making price reverse, right? There really needs to be a lot of empty space for price to be able to go further in that direction after the breakout, right? So let's go on a maybe even higher time frame. Well, let's try the M30, see if we can find some support levels. So here, for example, we have 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches, 4 touches. So you can clearly see that this is a support range. That is a good level to be trading off. And even after the 4th one, when the market opened, just came in and flew up from there. That was a massive actually move from this support level. So, you know, that's almost a 30-point move, around 30 points. So crazy move. If you managed to find a buy over there, well, you know, congrats, that's a great trade. So again, if this support level would have been broken, there's not really much stopping price until at least this demand. So you have quite some room here. You see this is the 400, so a break would be around here, the 92, the 94s, yeah, the 94, 95s, and then you have still a lot of room for price to go lower, right? So this would still be a nice support level to be looking at if price might get there in the future to either buy from or wait for a breakout and then sell to the next demand. All right. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I will get back to you and clear that out for you. All right. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one.